Testing, testing. You shouldn't be able to see me. You should just be able to see the slideshow. Can you hear me now? Dee, 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 dee. Can you hear me now? Da, 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 da. This is going swimmingly. Huh. How weird. That's definitely working there. That's odd. Huh. How weird. Why is Twitch not doing audio? Hey, okay. Alrighty, now we're getting somewhere. So, have no idea why. Where's my YouTube video? Okay. Do we have... Don't know why this is saying the Forgotten City on YouTube, but anyway. Okay, right. Alright, let's crack on. So, hello, good evening, and welcome to another incredibly exciting Monday Munch with me, Sir Dax. Why have I got an echo? I haven't got anything else broadcasting. Let's mute that. Mute. That's not got any sound on it, and that's not got any sound on it, and that's not got any sound on it. Okay, right, so everything seems to be working, so we'll just go from there and see how we can do. Right, so no, we're not building Lego, we're meeting kinky folks safely. So anyway, hello, good evening, welcome to this Monday Munch topic on meeting kinky folk safely. No, Lexi, we are not building Lego. Today we are talking about safety and meeting other kinksters. We are going to quickly go some general notes. We are going to look at online safety. We are going to look at in-person safety, so that's safety in the real world. and we're going to have a quick look at some safety tips for play scenes, that kind of thing, actual getting down to it. So let's start off with some general notes. First and foremost, whether you are dealing with online only stuff, or if you are getting out into the real world and meeting potential play partners and maybe even a potential romantic partner, my first and greatest recommendation is that you do educate yourself about BDSM. Now, there is an awful lot to go over. One of the things that I regularly say about BDSM is that it isn't really a sort of, it's not a gateway to sex. I mean, BDSM doesn't have to be about sex. It's often involved, and kind of one of the reasons why it's popular is because people do kind of use it to spice up their sex lives. But BDSM is not all about sex. That is very, very important, and it will come up again later. So do bear that in mind. If you are new to sex, if you are young or otherwise inexperienced, then maybe hold off on the kinky stuff for a while until you are more comfortable with your body, your desires, your likes and dislikes, and also your emotions. A lot of BDSM does come down to mental aspects, and if you aren't fully aware of how you process things emotionally, then you may find that BDSM can screw you up. So definitely it's not something to rush into, and I really wouldn't recommend it as kind of a beginning step into sex. So I would definitely encourage you to educate yourself about BDSM. There is a lot to be familiar with. Now, you don't need to know absolutely everything from the beginning, but you really should learn what it is, what it isn't, and all the different things that can be involved. I mean, a good starting point is learn what BDSM stands for. Do also make sure that you use more than one point of reference. So just as a starting point, I would recommend you look at kinkacademy.com, kinkly.com and lovingbdsm.net. There are many other sources of information, but those three in particular I find very informative and very easy to understand. They cover a wide range of subjects, and you will find that a lot of the same sort of information and advice is common. Kinkacademy.com is a subscription site, but it is definitely worth it. They've got lots of videos on there. You can download them for offline viewing. They have got quite a few free videos and articles, but it's definitely worth doing. So, get on there and start learning as much as you can. I would also recommend reading the new topping book or the new bottoming book. If you're a sub, then the bottoming book is for you. If you're a dom, then the topping book is for you. We will come back to... Well, actually, no, we'll answer that now. Kinkacademy.com is nothing to do with kink.com, by the way. Kink.com is the kind of the most popular kinky porn website with loads of videos of pretty much any kink and fetish subject you can imagine, and many that you probably can't imagine. So, no, kinkacademy.com is nothing to do with kink.com. Kink.com do have Kink University, which is their kind of attempt to get some of the Kink Academy market but again, its primary focus is basically selling porn. So no, Kink Academy is not related to kink.com, nor is kinkly.com. Anyway, I would suggest you read the new topping book and the new bottoming book. Ideally, the one that is related to whether you're going to be a top or a bottom. So if you're going to be some form of dominant, then go look at the topping book. And if you're looking to be a submissive or something along those lines, then read the bottoming book. I would also recommend reading both of them so that you kind of get a good idea of what to expect from the other person, from the other point of view. But definitely go and read the one that's most relevant to you. Hannah in the chat has recommended When Somebody You Love is Kinky, which is also by Dossie Easton. So check that one out. I'll be checking that one out because I didn't know about that one. Apparently that covers some of the emotional, a lot of the emotional aspects. So go check that one out as well. YouTube is another great and also free way to get some good knowledge. Again, lots of people on YouTube. I would recommend Evie Lupine and Depraved Eros, and also, don't know why it hasn't appeared on here, Miss LX. They've all got some very useful videos on there, so go check those out, find videos that are covering subjects that you are interested in, and go watch them. And lastly, check more than one source of info. Don't just listen to me, don't just listen to Depraved Eros. Go and check out as many different points of view as you can. You will get a much greater understanding of what to expect and what to look out for. Do try and get as many viewpoints as you can, find as many people to follow and ask questions of as you can. Another way of getting some good education, support, and just generally socializing is to join your local munch. This is something that I definitely recommend. You don't need to, go all the time, but definitely get out there in the real world, particularly if you are looking to meet real people. And join your local munch. It's not always as easy as just going onto FetLife and typing in where you are. If you're in some countries where sort of sex is a little bit more taboo, then it can be very difficult to find a munch. And obviously if you're in a very spread out country, then your nearest local munch might be too local for you. You might not feel comfortable going somewhere very close by, and the next nearest one might be quite some distance away, but I definitely recommend it. Another good source of information is the Reddit BDSM subreddit on Reddit. Lots of good advice given out on there. You can ask questions, read questions other people have asked, see the answers and advice that people are given. Some of it will apply to you, some of it won't, but you will start to get a feel for the sort of behaviour that is expected, and sort of what is good and what is bad behaviour. So definitely don't try to learn from porn, 50 Shades of Grey, or indeed kink.com. Learning about BDSM from porn is a bad idea. In fact, learning about sex from porn is a bad idea, and is why so many people have unhealthy and unrealistic expectations, particularly guys, sadly, but also young people of any gender. Porn is just completely unrealistic. It is purely about the male gaze for the most part. It is intended to sell sex, it's intended to sell videos, it's intended to sell toys and whatever. It is a very, very bad way to learn about BDSM and indeed sex in general. Porn is just completely unrealistic. Just by all means, use it as maybe inspiration for a scene, but don't use it as an example of what is BDSM, what good BDSM looks like, because it isn't. Same with 50 Shades of Grey. A lot of people have come into BDSM from reading 50 Shades of Grey and other sort of fiction like that. Again, not realistic. It's worth noting that the person that wrote 50 Shades of Grey basically came from writing Twilight fan fiction. So they're not somebody with a lot of BDSM real life experience. They're basically a fanfic author. And whilst I'm sure they can write lovely vampire fanfic, they cannot write realistic porn. Sorry, they kind of do write realistic porn. They can't write realistic BDSM. And that goes the same for the movies as well as the books. They are just not to be followed. Yes, learning about how to order pizza from porn is also a bad idea. And as I mentioned earlier, don't use kink.com as a good example. Again, it is all about selling porn. It's about selling the memberships to kink.com. It's not realistic. Some people say, oh, but they do show negotiation at the beginning. They show safe words. They show all that sort of stuff. Yes, they do. Not always, but quite often they do. But again, bear in mind that these are paid models. These are professional models. And when you've been booked for a shoot and you're being paid for a shoot, how much agency do you think those models have over can they stop a scene? Can they, will their limits be respected? Have they been told to agree to this? All that sort of stuff. I'm not saying whether or not they have. I'm just saying it's a question that you need to ask yourself, because that can sort of, there may be an influence there. Also, those actors have got a lot of experience. They know what they're doing. They know how to react to look good. They know how to hide any issues or unhappiness they may be having with the scene. It's all for show. It isn't real BDSM. It is all for show. So again, kink.com, bad example. Use it as inspiration, but don't use it as a way of learning. Okay, so with all those general notes out of the way, let's start with online safety. First and foremost, when you are looking to start exploring online, because that is a very, very popular way of getting into kink and BDSM. It's anonymous. It can be anonymous. You can do it from the safety of your computer. You can do it from your phone. It's nice and easy to, it's nice and anonymous. You're not meeting real people. There is that kind of safety feeling that you get there. Doesn't mean it is safe, but there is that kind of feeling of safety, which is perhaps what's the word? It is a false feeling of security. So, first off, do protect your identity. I would strongly suggest setting up a fake identity. Don't use one of your existing social media accounts. Create a brand new one. Use a completely different name to what you would usually use. Don't use a photo of yourself. Don't use any identifying items in your new online profile. definitely don't use something that you've posted on before, even if you kind of rename it, or any way of, don't even use your normal email address, because bear in mind that there are when you join a new social media site, quite often it will say, hey, do you want me to scan your contacts and see who you know? And if you use an email address that one of your friends or family members has got for you, then your new account's probably going to pop up if they sign up. So completely fresh, new, fake identity. So yeah, totally separate NSFW accounts. NSFW, not safe for work. You'll find most sexy stuff gets marked as not safe for work. So that's a good clue that this is something you're not going to want to look at work. So yeah. For email, do set up a new Gmail address. Again, totally fresh, totally clean, not one you've used before. Gmail addresses or Hotmail or whatever, something disposable that you're only going to use for your new kinky stuff. Come up with a fake username and location. So if you normally go around everywhere masquerading as Voldemort 666, then don't start a new online identity as Snape 666. Go something completely different format. If you normally have numbers at the end, don't use numbers, all that sort of stuff. Something that isn't going to, not even an inside joke. That if you normally use the name of a football player, then don't use the name of a football player from the same team or a different team, or indeed any sport. Do something completely different that's going to look totally unrelated. Same with your location as well. It can be useful to kind of find people in your area, but at the same time, that's probably not what you're going to want to do right away. If you are going to ever want to use your location to meet other people, then potentially that's time for another new account. But yeah, I would recommend not sharing your real location. When you are talking to people online, they may well say, oh, what's your real name? Where are you really from? All that sort of stuff. It might be friendly, it might be chatty. Resist any attempt to give out your real information until you are very sure that you can trust somebody. Same goes with your face. Don't share photos. Resist pressure to share photos. Post photos if you want to, but I would recommend not sharing your face. Don't share anything that has easily identifiable tattoos, things like that. You will see lots of people do share that sort of stuff, and that's their choice. Don't feel pressured into sharing stuff that you're not comfortable with. Do bear in mind that what you post online is likely to be there forever. Okay, just because you delete something doesn't mean it's completely gone. First off, people can screenshot things very easily. Secondly, there's websites like the Wayback Machine, which archives internet pages continuously. So there's always, this is how when somebody, a politician or whatever, deletes tweets, this is how they can be still be found, because there are archives of things that people have posted. So do bear in mind that what you post on the internet is likely to be there forever, including photos. Now, in the past, I have copped a lot of flack for pointing out that when you post photos, particularly nudes, chances are those photos are going to resurface at an inopportune time. That's not to say that you shouldn't post photos. That's not to say that you shouldn't live your life the way you want to. But yes, when you're 18 and horny, you may be more than happy to post photos of what you're doing, your face, your body, sexual acts, all that sort of stuff. But in 20 years, are you going to want that stuff reappearing when you are running for this great new promotion, when you're running for office, when you are in line for this major new film deal with Marvel? You know, do bear in mind that all this stuff is out there. If it can be identified as you, then it is going to come back. So just be very aware and be cognizant of the fact that anything you post is going to be permanent, and it is possibly going to come back later when you least expect it. You may not have children now, but in the future, if you do, their school friends are going to find it. So do be aware of that. I'm not saying don't do it. Do set up, but do just be aware and understand that what you post on the internet is permanent. Okay, next thing. When we are chatting with people online, one of the most important pieces of advice is ignore unsolicited DMs. So you will find people, particularly if you're a girl, you will find people sliding into your DMs. More often than not, they will have never interacted with you before. And this happens on pretty much any social media, whether it's Twitter or Instagram or FetLife, any of these sites. You will get people sliding into your DMs unsolicited. I would ignore them. If you haven't asked people to contact you, if you haven't indicated somebody that you want to talk to them, then ignore them. Particularly if they are offers to mentor or train you. This is particularly big on FetLife, but it will come up in all sorts of places as well. More often than not, offers to mentor or train you are basically a way of somebody trying to get in before you are sort of fully aware of what's going on, and before you're particularly informed about the things that you're sort of interested in. Their attempts to isolate you and kind of keep you as their main and keep them as your main source of information. So do resist offers to mentor or train you, particularly if, again, they're from somebody that you've never interacted with, never spoken to. If they've just slid into your DMs and said, "Hi, I see you're new here, I can take you under my wing and look out for you and keep you safe." No, that's a choice that only you can make. And if somebody is sliding in without knowing the first thing about you, then they do not have your best interests at heart. They do not know what is best for you because they don't know you. And another very, very important piece of advice is do not hesitate to block someone. You should not feel in any way guilty or bad or rude if you just block someone. I've had people contact me saying, "How do I get this person to stop messaging me? It's really annoying, it's really creepy. I've told them I don't want it, but they keep messaging me. I don't know what to do." Block them. When you're online, it's not real life, as long as you're careful and don't post all the identifying information. Your throwaway identity is simply that, a throwaway identity. It's not really you. These people don't know who you are, or they shouldn't be able to know who you are. So block them. It's not like in a pub and you feel bad about suddenly blanking the person that's talking to you, although you shouldn't feel bad about it. Just block them. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them a warning. You don't owe them any sympathy. If they've treated you in a way that's made you uncomfortable and has made you wish you could block them, then just do it. Just block. It is not your job to reason with someone. It is not your job to educate someone. It is not your job to keep somebody else happy. Just blockety block. It does not matter one bit if they might get the hump. That just again goes to prove that they are not someone that you should be giving your time and energy. So just block away. Don't even need to give them a warning, don't need to give them an explanation, just block. Okay, so red flags to watch out for when you're dealing with people online. First off, again, sliding straight into the DMs, as well as being basically, creepy. It is also an indication that they don't value your agency. They think they're more important. It's not a good look. So someone sliding into your DMs probably is all about them, not about you. So if there's no prior contact, definitely that's a red flag. They've not interacted with you publicly. That means that they don't want other people to know that they're talking to you. They don't want other people to know that you're talking to them. If they have something to hide, that is most likely what they will do. They will just slide into your DMs and they will, want to keep things quiet. So watch out for that. If there's been no prior contact, then that's a big red flag. Massive red flag, calling you names without asking. Again, if someone slides into your DMs and they're straight away with, "Hi, princess," "Hi, pet," "Hi, kitten," "Hi, baby," "Hi, slut," "Hi, whore," then that is another massive red flag. You should not be letting anybody call you any particular name or honorific without your consent and negotiation first. Particularly if, as quite often happens with a few people that I follow, their bio quite clearly states names you may call me or even names you mustn't call me, and people just completely ignore that, slide into their DMs, and they're straight away calling them princess or mummy or whatever, and they've already quite clearly said that that's names that they don't want to be used. So ignoring that is a blatant breach of consent. So watch out for people calling you names without asking. Call them out on it straight away. Go, "I'm not your baby, I'm not your kitten, don't call me names, I don't know you." If they react, if they're apologetic, if they're, if they may be new, then, it's up to you whether you sort of, allow that. But personally, I would say that's another good sign that they need an Instablock. Likewise, demanding that you call them a title when they slide into DMs. Also, very, very bad sign. You shouldn't be calling anybody a title without their consent, without your negotiation, and also without your consent. So if someone slides into DMs and is all, "Hi princess, I'm your new daddy," then no, they're not. You can't just say to somebody, "Hi, I'm your dom," or indeed, "Hi, I'm your sub." That's not how it works. There is negotiation and consent first. So again, somebody calling you names or demanding that you call them specific names, big red flag, and again, Instablock worthy. Likewise, somebody who starts pushing you for nudes or face pictures or whatever, or sexting, basically anything, they start pushing you to provide anything, then again, bad sign. You will, often see people posting screen grabs of DMs they've had where somebody says, just, it might even just be a simple one-word thing of boobs, question mark. What does that mean even? But no, you do not have any responsibility to give somebody something that they ask for just because they ask for it. Again, block. I would just block for that. But demanding stuff from you without, when they don't know you, or even if they do know you, if you have chatted with them, then they suddenly start asking for stuff. Block. Another big red flag is trying to isolate you. So, as I mentioned earlier, with offers to mentor or train you, a common tactic with particularly predatory people is trying to isolate you and basically get you all to themselves. This may look like things like getting them to, trying to make you list them as your dom or master or daddy or sub or slave or whatever, because this can go both ways. There, as well as being toxic and abusive dominants and tops, there are also toxic abusive subs. So, you know, quite often subs, mostly men, sadly, I say men, mostly males, sadly, but they will often slide into a woman's DMs, particularly women who quite clearly identify as submissive, and, you know, definitely aren't dominant. The guys will slide into their DMs and pretty much beg them to dominate them, completely ignoring the fact that they're not into it. Anyway, yeah, watch out for people trying to make you publicly linked to that person, because that is them trying to isolate you. They're trying to put their mark on you. They're trying to claim you and put other people off, and they're trying to make you feel somehow indebted to them. Another red flag: controlling who you talk to or follow, or who follows you. So some people are into this, and if this is something you want, genuinely, this is something that you've thought of on your own, and not that somebody has told you you want, or strongly suggested, or somehow tried to make you think like it's your idea. But controlling who you talk to, who you follow, who follows you, and also, for example, who can DM you, controlling that is quite simply controlling. This is a classic form of gaslighting, and it is a massive red flag. So do watch out for that. You will quite often see, particularly on younger accounts or roleplay accounts, you will see things like message my daddy for permission to DM me. That isn't necessarily a healthy thing. Like I said, if that is something you are genuinely into and genuinely want, and some people do want that kind of feeling of ownership, then fine. But do realise that it is a form of control. You may think, and this is why some people do it, that it helps cut down on the amount of creeps that you get. It doesn't. People, if they don't respect you enough to respect you when they message you, they're not going to respect the whole ask my daddy first. But it can be absolutely fine, and if that is something you are into, then that is fine. Go for it. Not a problem. Just, you know, be aware and be sure that it is your decision and that you are happy with it. If you're fine with it, then yeah, go for it. People who demand access to your DMs and passwords. Again, this is something that will quite often happen if somebody demands that sorry, just 1 second. I'm seeing in the chat Lexi saying that having a contact somebody before you message me cuts down on okay, so Lexi's feeding back and saying that in her experience, having the ask my daddy or whatever for permission before you message me, she finds it does cut down on a lot of crap, and it can be a good gauge of what's going to be a penis picture or whatever. So okay, in Lex's experience, particularly on FET, it does make an impact. So yeah, that might be worth trying. In sort of my experience, people I've spoken to, it's not made much of a difference, but maybe give it a try. But yes, so people demanding access to your DMs and passwords. Again, if you want to give up access to your DMs, then and you're fine with that, then yeah, go for it. But again, make sure it's your choice and that you are perfectly okay with it, not that you've kind of been influenced into it. With passwords, I strongly recommend that you don't ever give out passwords. One exception is maybe just create a completely unique password just for one particular social media site or something like that, but I would think very long and hard about it, because once somebody has access to a password, they can potentially get up to no good. There's no guarantee that their computer might not get hacked and your password revealed, all that sort of thing. So I would strongly resist sharing passwords, just in general. Plus, most companies have a sharing password thing being a sackable offence, and that's a good rule for life. Somebody demanding to act as a gatekeeper. Again, if you want your partner or dom or sub or whatever to have access to your stuff and control access to you, then that is absolutely fine. But if somebody's demanding it, then I would say that's a red flag. Somebody who tries to impose rules and punishments without negotiation. Again, another red flag. This is something where you really do need to negotiate up front. You need to agree to what sort of things you're going to do. Somebody who tries to impose rules and punishments on you without negotiation or without you saying you want them, all that sort of stuff, that, again, in my opinion, I would say that's a red flag. Not everybody wants rules. Not everybody wants punishment. You can have rules without punishment. You don't need, you don't need rules and punishments to be a good sub. You don't need to give rules and punishments to be a good dom. Not everybody wants them. In particular, using silent treatment as a punishment is really, really bad idea. Subs in particular, subs and littles in particular, they need to feel safe. They need to have contact with their partner. They need security. They need reassurance. They really do not benefit from the silent treatment. Many new and inexperienced doms think that, oh, you love me so much, so fine, if you misbehave, then I will take away what you love, which is me. So misbehave and I will ignore you for 3 days. That sort of thing. It sounds great in theory, but in reality, it is abuse. Plain and simple. How can you apologize? How can you learn? How can you get reassurance that you are a good boy, that you are a good girl, if your dom won't talk to you? So no. Someone suggesting silent treatment as a punishment? No. Big red flag. Also, unsafe punishments, or indeed just unsafe acts in general. For example, unsafe cutting off of blood flow. So having somebody tie a rubber band around their toe or their nipple for an excessive amount of time, making it really tight, cutting off the blood flow, that's, that is unsafe. So don't agree to things like that. It, in short term, nipple clamps or whatever can be very exciting, very erotic, very stimulating, but just do be careful. Another thing is having you insert unsafe things into various holes, particularly food in the vagina, going from arse to mouth or arse to vagina. yes, you'll see it in porn, but there's been preparation there. They are regularly screened. They have access to medical care and so on. It's not something to copy at home. So also things like throat training with a hard object like a hairbrush handle. If that doesn't appeal to you because that could damage your throat, then push back on that. So watch out for punishments which seem unsafe. Some acts might seem unsafe, but they're okay. So by all means, if something seems unsafe, push back, ask for reassurance that it is safe, and ideally, more than just them saying, yeah, it's fine, I've done it before. Look for YouTube videos, look for articles from sort of proper sources that talk about this particular act and how to do it safely. Okay, some more red flags, or rather just a kind of a sum up on the red flags. Remember that you get to choose who you talk to. So again, if someone slides into your DMs, you have no obligation to talk to them. If someone tries to restrict who you talk to without your consent, then again, you get to choose who you talk to, unless you want that kind of dynamic. You get to choose who you submit to. Someone saying, right, you're mine now, you belong to me, I'm your daddy. No, you get to choose who you submit to, no one else. You get to choose what you will and won't do. This is very important, and we will come back to this, but all these things are entirely up to you. Now, you can choose to give someone else that power over you. That's absolutely fine, but that is still your choice. Set your limits and boundaries, including rules and punishments, whether or not you want them, and aftercare if you want it, and ignore anyone who doesn't respect them immediately. So, again, if someone tries to talk you out of your limits, if someone tries to say, well, you've got to have punishments and you don't want them, then no, they're not respecting your consent, they are not respecting your agency, they are not respecting you. Okay. Other things to help you talk to people online is read their timeline, read their previous posts, read their replies. So if you do start talking to someone or think somebody is worth talking to, or even if somebody slides into your DMs and they're not completely obnoxious, read their timeline, read their previous posts and replies, and get a feel for what sort of person they are. Watch out for accounts which are, clearly approaching you as somebody who is interested in kink. Watch out for getting messages from accounts that are completely vanilla. Particularly, I've noticed accounts which seem purely focused on sports, particularly football. I've seen a lot of people getting sort of creepy messages from accounts which are just posting about football or betting all the time. They've got no apparent interest in kinky stuff. Most likely they are hiding from their wife or their friends or whoever. So do watch out for accounts that are seemingly unrelated to kink type stuff. Watch out for accounts that only post porn. By which I mean that only post those porn gifs and black and white photos and things like that. If it's somebody who's posting stuff that they've made themselves, then that's different. But people who just retweet stuff that everybody else has tweeted and posting and everything, particularly if they say things like, oh yeah, I like this, or I want a good girl to do this to me, etc. Treat those with a healthy dose of skepticism. not everybody that purely posts porn is problematic, but it can indicate a unhealthy attitude towards sex. So, and also bear in mind that BDSM isn't just about sex, or it doesn't even have to be about sex at all. But if that seems to be their focus, then healthy dose of skepticism there. In particular, do look at their replies. That will give you an idea of what sort of person they are. If they engage in healthy conversations and debates and so on, then great. You get a good idea of who they are and what sort of their views and opinions are. If their replies are basically to porn clips or models or whoever, and their replies will just DM or DM me babe, or I've DM'd you, or things like that, or all so hot, or creepy, thirsty stuff like that, then clearly they are just after one thing. And if all their replies are indicating that, then that's probably true. Likewise, if they are posting other stuff besides just DM me babe, then watch out and see, are they posting views that you don't agree with? Now, that could be about kink, it could be about politics, it could be that they hate this particular country, or they hate this TV show, or as simple as they hate coffee. There needs to be some common ground between you, and whilst some areas of difference in opinion can be perfectly okay, like for example only liking coffee, that's absolutely fine, but watch out, if they are posting things that you have a problem with, then that's going to indicate that they're not going to be a good match for you. That may well be including politics. Watch out. If they are clearly into things you aren't, so if somebody is purely focused on humiliation and degradation, and that's not something you want, then chances are they're going to try and push you in that direction. So just watch out for that. If you've got no interest in sex in BDSM, and they clearly are, then again, that's not going to be a good sign. So just watch out for that. Some people are flexible. I base what I do with a client around what they're into. There are things that maybe I enjoy doing with a client which one client doesn't want to do. That's absolutely fine. I will work with them to sort of come up with a scenario that works for them. But yeah, if they are clearly and passionately into things that you aren't, then yeah, healthy dose of skepticism. And lastly, one thing that people tend to forget is check their likes and check who they follow. In particular, watch out for any under 18 type stuff, particularly on Twitter. Are they following under 18 type accounts? Are they following the accounts of people who create content which strongly hints at being under 18 influenced? Are they going around liking lots of content that you perhaps don't agree with? People regularly forget that stuff they like is clearly visible on their profile, so do look at that. And in particular, if they are interacting with, following, liking underage content, big red flag, steer clear, steer clear. Likewise, if they are only following porn accounts, or for example, if they're a dom and they're only following submissives, then I would be skeptical about that. I do mean kind of only following those accounts. You will find that there will be a lot of particularly dominants, male or female, that follow a lot of submissives. Part of that is because submissives follow us, and so quite often we will follow back to be nice. Part of that is also because there is a lack of decent dominant type accounts to follow. There are so many of the kind of the fake DOMs around, the eDOMs or TWODOMs, that finding good DOM accounts to follow is quite hard. So I don't follow anywhere near as many DOM accounts as I would like to follow because I haven't found that many that are worth following. But I do follow lots of subs because they follow me. And just in the case of a dominant, that's kind of the way it works. Oh, that's the way it turns out. But if they are only following subs, or they're only following porn, or a mix of the both, then again, that's an echo chamber. They are not interested, I would suggest, in widening their knowledge and experience. Okay, so with all that out of the way, in terms of online, let's look at real world safety. Keeping yourself safe in the real world. Perhaps you've met someone online, perhaps you met someone at a munch, and you want to take things a little bit further. So first and most important tip, when you first meet somebody, meet in public. This cannot be overstated enough. Meet somewhere in public. If they refuse to meet you in public, if they refuse to be seen with you in public, then I would say that is a big red flag. When I say meet in public, I mean meet somewhere with cameras. One of the things to bear in mind with kink and BDSM, more so with BDSM than just general kink, is that it can be dangerous. This is something that gets, again, a little bit of pushback, but BDSM can be dangerous. As a submissive, you are quite literally going to be in situations where you are giving them life and death control over you. If you want to explore things like being choked, or even just bondage, or anything, even spanking or whatever, you are giving somebody physical power, physical control over you. That can be dangerous. You need to be aware of that. You need to understand that although it is obviously not something that we want, it is possible for things to go wrong. So don't go out there thinking everything's going to be fine. It's going to be just like in that romance fiction that you read. Do understand, really understand and accept that things can go wrong and you could be hurt or worse. So when we talk about meeting in public, we're talking about basically you want there to be video and photos that can be played on Crime Watch. When the reports of you going missing come in, you want there to be footage that can be played on the news. You want there to be a way of identifying the last person you were with. I know that is a bit of a buzzkill. I know that is not terribly sexy, but it's true. You are potentially putting yourself in a situation where bad things can happen, so you need to plan for bad things to happen. Hopefully they won't. Okay, the idea is that we want to plan for the worst and not have those plans be necessary, but this is very, very important. If that scares you, good, because this is not your gateway to sex. This is not beginner level stuff. BDSM is end game content. So meet in public. Make sure that people see who you're with. Make sure that there's going to be stuff to be played on the news when your body turns up in a ditch. Yes, that's doom and gloom. if you're not ready to accept that, if you're not ready to accept that your health and your safety are at risk, then you are not ready for BDSM. Meet somewhere in public, meet somewhere with cameras. Very, very important. If you're going to meet in a bar, pub, restaurant, somewhere like that, or some other sort of place where people often do meet, check if there is an Ask for Angela scheme, or some places call it the Angel Shot scheme. Check on their website, check in the women's loos, check if there is some way that you can get somebody's attention. Many places, particularly bars and pubs, will have a scheme where you can go to the bar, and I think the most common one is you can ask for Angela. That is a clue for the person behind the bar that you're in trouble and need help. Other places call it the Angel Shot scheme, and that's where you go to the bar and you ask for an angel shot. There can be sort of different versions, like an angel shot on ice or an angel shot straight up. Can mean, can you eject the person I'm sitting with? Can you call me a cab? Can you take me somewhere safe? You know, there's different sort of flavors of angel shot. But yeah, do try and find somewhere that you can meet that has this sort of scheme, and make use of it. Familiarize yourself with it. Make use of it. A good bartender or restaurant person or whoever should sort of be able to tell, if you kind of look nervous or seem unhappy, but you can't rely on them getting you, or realizing, because they can be quite busy. But yeah, do try and find out if they have a scheme, or at least go somewhere that's got a scheme that you can use. Ideally, get your own drinks or use table service, rather than have your partner get your drink for you. There is an element perhaps of, I should get your drink for you because I'm the man, I'm the dom, or whatever. That is, that could be nice, that could be polite, but I would strongly suggest that you get your own drinks, because then you know that they won't have been spiked. Also, keep an eye on it. Hold it in your hands, whatever. But try not to leave it unattended, or take your eye off it. The old, is that Tom Cruise? Things like that. So yes, get your own drinks or use table service. Try and avoid them getting the drinks for you. Don't drink too much. You may want a drink or two to steady your nerves if you are nervous. That's fine. Know your limits. Know how much you can tolerate. I would avoid shots. I would avoid, more than one glass of wine. By all means, be a little bit buzzy, but don't be, don't let your defences down. Don't become too blasé. Don't drink too much. Don't leave yourself open to suggestion or coercion. Watch out for a last minute change of plan. Now, somebody may be all compliant and agreeable, and yes, sure, we can absolutely meet in front of Scotland Yard, not a problem. We can do this, we can do that, we can go here. By all means, we can do any of that. And then right at the last minute, suddenly, I've had a breakdown. Can you meet me in the basement of this car park? Watch out for that. The aim there is to get you so invested in the meeting and sort of so confident in the fact that they're a nice person that you feel happy to suddenly change the plans just because there's some supposed problem. The idea is that you'll be so invested in it that you won't want to pass up the opportunity, and they are banking on you being eager and willing to sort of go through with anything now, just because, well, I've got this far, might as well. Absolutely do not feel pressure to do anything other than walk away. If they change plans, then go, oh, that's too bad. Should we reschedule for next week? A responsible person will probably go, yeah, that's absolutely fine, totally understandable, not a problem. If they suddenly go, oh, actually, my car isn't broken down at all, then that would be a bit of an alarm bell for me. But if they say, yeah, that's absolutely fine, we can reschedule, I'm sorry, then, by all means give them a second chance. If they try and do it again, no. But yeah, if they try and pressure you into, oh, I've come all this way, it's going to take me an hour to get back home, can't you just meet me here? No, that's pressure tactics, that's trying to manipulate you. Don't fall for it. Last minute change of plan is banking on you being too invested to want to be safe. If you can, meeting them at a munch is perfect because you will be surrounded by other kinky folk. People there will be well versed in sort of what danger signs to look out for, and if somebody is a known predator or a known abuser, then they won't be allowed anywhere near the munch. So that will be a good indication that they're not a suitable partner. So if you can, meet them at a munch. It'll be nice to chat with them in public. You can chat with other people. By all means, sit off to the side where it's just the two of you. But meeting somebody at a munch is a good way to meet them. That was silly. But yeah, so if you can, meet them at a munch. If they push back on that, as same as with meeting anywhere public and so on, depends what their excuse is going to be. I don't like being in crowds. Being in a public place, there's going to be crowds. They may be, oh, I don't want to go to that bar, someone might know me. Again, as far as anybody else knows, they're just going to be on a date. So why does it matter if someone they know is there? These are all things which can sound okay, but ask yourself, is that the real reason? When you do agree somewhere to meet, make your own way there and back. Ideally drive if you can, if not train, bus, whatever. Do refuse any offers of transport. Again, it might be fine. Oh, I can pick you up. No, because that would reveal where you live. Likewise, at the end of the meeting, don't think of it as a date, think of it as a meeting. If they offer to take you home, again, that's going to reveal where you live, so politely decline. If they're pushy, big red flag. It might just be them being nice. I quite often make that offer just because I always offer to give people a lift back. I have no problem if somebody refuses, not a problem. And if I remember to not offer, then I don't offer. But for me, it's just kind of automatic. But yeah, if I do offer and they go, oh no, that's fine, then not a problem. Perfectly okay with that. But if someone really tries to persuade you, bad sign. Take a friend or let someone know where you'll be. This is very important as well. If you can, take a friend. You don't need to reveal that you're looking to meet a potential BDSM partner. For all they know, you are meeting a blind date or somebody that you've been talking to online and you thought it'd be fun to have a drink with them. They don't need to know exactly what you're meeting them for, but take a friend, have them sit somewhere else in the bar, restaurant, coffee shop, pub, but somewhere where they can see you and so that you can signal them if there is a problem. If you really are uncomfortable with that, then at the very least let someone know where you'll be. Again, this is all with a view to when you get murdered, having as much information as possible to find the perpetrator. Let someone know where you'll be. That way, if you don't come back home, if you don't turn up to work, then people have got a place to start looking for you. On a similar vein, arrange a safe call. Now, this is where you arrange with a friend a predetermined time where you will call them or they will call you, and you can indicate that everything is okay. You might want to have a code if you are worried that if they know that you're making a safe call, that they could be a threat. So, for example, if they call you or you call them and you say, "Hi, Mum," on the phone when it's your friend, then that could be a very clear sign that something's wrong. A reasonable, responsible, understanding, experienced Kinkster will be absolutely fine with you taking a friend, with you letting someone know where you are, and they will be absolutely fine with you making a safe call. They may well remind you to do it. That's all good. But yeah, definitely arrange a safe call and have a plan in place for if the safe call doesn't happen. So if you don't make the call at the arranged time, which could happen if you were getting carried away, if things were going well, then agree that if you meant to call them at 2:00 and you haven't, then perhaps they call you at 2:05, 2:10, 2:15, and so on. And if they still can't get hold of you, then because you've told them where you'll be, then they can contact the venue and say, for example, my friend was meeting somebody at table 15 and she hasn't got in touch with me. Can you see if she's okay? So when I say let someone know where you'll be, ideally let them know exactly where you are. So if you're in a bar or a restaurant or a pub, what table number you are or where you're sitting. But yes, arrange a safe call and make sure you use it, and have a plan B in case, for whatever reason, the call doesn't happen. So, very, very important. And again, the whole sort of thing here is to try and keep you safe and have it not be necessary. But worst case scenario is when you turn up dead or you don't turn up at all, then there's as good a chance as possible to catch the person and stop it happening again. If you can't handle the fact that you are dealing with danger, then this is not for you. Genuine Kinksters will be patient and accommodating. This cannot be stressed enough. Anybody who is pushy or tries to get you to change your mind or in any other way tries to tell you you're wrong, that's not a good sign. Genuine Kinksters, subs, doms, whatever, switches, whoever they are, will be patient, they will be accommodating, they will be understanding, they will be supportive. If anybody tries to do anything that doesn't scream that it's in your best interests, then red flag. Don't be pressured into playing with someone right away. When you have your first meeting, don't go along thinking, if I like them, then we'll go somewhere straight away. Don't. Ideally, if you're female, then perhaps pick a date where you definitely aren't going to want to play with somebody. But definitely go along thinking that you don't go along thinking that you're going to play with them right away, because you will start thinking with that part of your brain, and that will be a bad thing. That will start to cloud your judgment, that will start to influence your thinking, and that's not going to work out well. So don't expect to play straight away, and don't be pressured into playing straight away. In particular, if it might be sort of unavoidable, but do try to resist somebody who says, well, tell you what, why don't we meet in the bar of the Ritz? Because meeting in a hotel bar, chances are that they're thinking ahead, and they're thinking that, oh, well, I can book a room, and since we're already there, I can get them up to my room. No, avoid that entirely. Negotiation. This is very important. Set out your limits and boundaries and see how they react. You should be negotiating with anybody that you are potentially going to play with. By all means, do a kink list. It's good to understand what each other's likes and dislikes are, things that you definitely want to do, things that you don't know if you want to do but might be open to. But most importantly, set out your limits and boundaries and see how they react to them. For example, you could even slip in a little joker. If you know somebody is really into anal, you could say, hard limit, don't even want to discuss it, anal, and see how they react. If they start saying, well, how do you know if you haven't tried it, or something like that, then they're potentially ignoring your consent, they're ignoring your limits. That's not a good look. See how they react. If they try to talk you out of your limits, boundaries, or try to ignore them or invalidate them, that is a bad sign. Discuss safe words. Now, you don't have to use safe words. If you're experienced, then you may well quite enjoy doing sort of edge play activities and playing without safe words. That's absolutely fine. If you're that sort of person and you know what you're doing and you know that your partner is in tune with you, then absolutely fine. You don't need to use safe words. But if you're new, I strongly encourage you to use safe words. In particular, if you're new, remember that no is a perfectly valid safe word. No, stop, I don't want that, get off. These are all perfectly acceptable safe words. If somebody tries to talk you out of using safe words or says, oh, I don't play with safe words, oh, I don't allow safe words, then they're not someone for you. Quite often you will get people, sort of inexperienced people, saying, oh yeah, no, I don't worry about safe words, or also I don't have limits. That's another dodgy sign. But yeah, if someone tries to talk you out of using safe words, then that's not a good sign. You may find that somebody who's maybe a little bit inexperienced might try to talk you out of using no as a stop, as a safe word. That's a case where, stand your ground, say, I'm not comfortable using different words yet. I just want, if I say no, stop, anything like that, I want to stop, then they should accept that. If they don't, that's a bit of a warning sign. If you are going to do sexual activity, and remember, BDSM is not just about sex. You can have a perfectly fulfilling scene fully clothed. But if you are going to use any sort of sexual activity, then make sure your limits there are stated, and again, that they're going to respect them. So, for example, condoms. If there is going to be any sort of penetration and you want to use condoms, then make that clear and make sure they agree to it. Take your own along as well, and ideally use those. Femidoms are another option. And of course, no sex at all, no sexual activity at all is an option. Whatever you're into, make that clear, and again, see how they respond to it. Aftercare. Do talk about that during your negotiation. Not everybody wants aftercare, that's fine. Not everybody is going to need it right away. You may not even know, if you're new, you may not even know what you're going to need in terms of aftercare. But yeah, if you think you want it, if you know you want it, or even if you're not sure you want it, talk about it, and at the very least agree that there will be a cuddle or a hot drink, or that you can sit down and talk afterwards. Again, some people will say they don't do aftercare, and as long as they say it up front and give you the choice to walk away, then that's absolutely fine. Or you maybe want to get a friend to sort of be an aftercare surrogate. That's something that people do. That's fine. But if someone straight up refuses or offers aftercare but doesn't provide it, then warning sign. Watch out for an obsession with sex. Like I said, BDSM isn't about sex. It's quite often something that becomes involved in it, but it's not necessary. It's not something that needs to happen. If someone is, when you're talking to a potential partner and they're going straight for the sex, I would say that's a warning sign. In a sub, that might be a sign of frenzy. In a dom, that might be a sign of an unhealthy obsession. If all they want is kinky sex, then they can get that anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but being a dominant is not about kinky sex. It's about being dominant and expressing that and accepting someone's submission. It's not about kinky sex. So if someone has an obsession with sex, then I would again be cautious. Push back and watch their reaction. So this is something where, again, if things have been going okay, then maybe throw in something where you push back against something they've said or a choice or opinion they've expressed, and see how they react. So for example, if they say that they want to collar you, for example, again, that's a bit of a warning sign anyway, if that's like one of the first things you talk about. But if they straight up say they want to do this, or on your first meeting you will do that, push back, say no. Don't even need, don't give an excuse, don't justify it, just go no and see how they react. If they argue, if they can't handle it, then that's a warning sign. If they're absolutely fine with it, then yay, great. Okay, big text here. Trust your instincts. Even if something is going perfectly well, even if somebody is ticking all these boxes, they're not looking at all suspicious, they're green flags all the way, trust your instincts. If something seems wrong, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Ultimately, you need to be comfortable. It could be that everything's absolutely fine. Maybe you're talking to a professional, maybe you're talking to me, he says modestly. If everything seems too good to be true and that's making you feel uneasy, then trust your instincts. I would not want somebody to book a session with me if they didn't feel comfortable, because the whole time they're with me, they're going to be nervous, they're going to be on edge. That's not something that I want. That's not a feeling I want in somebody that's playing with me. Trust your instincts. It is perfectly okay to pass up a safe person. If you don't feel absolutely 100% okay with it, walk away. There's no shame in it. There's no problem with exercising your free will. Trust your instincts. There are plenty more kinksters out there. Really, there are. There's loads. Okay, falling under red flags, I would like to just briefly talk about red pill or game theory, also known as TERP or terping. Red pill basically gets its name from the Matrix, where Neo is given the option of swallowing the red pill or the blue pill. The blue pill is basically carry on living your life in ignorance. The red pill allows Neo to see the world for what it truly is, and is a term that's been taken on online as a way of basically sad men trying to figure out why no one likes them. It is abuse. It's mental and emotional, sometimes physical abuse, and it is part of the incel movement. Particularly in the UK, this has been in the news recently because of a vocal incel person basically killing his mum and a bunch of other people and then killing himself. So the incel movement in particular takes on a lot of the red pill type theories, which quite often focus around mind games. Things like a guy that, and it's basically guys, there may be women who try it as well, I don't know, but it's, as far as I know, it's all guys. Mind games. They play mind games with women to try and basically manipulate them into relationships or dating or basically bed. So some of the common things they do are they will talk about other women to you. So if you're a female, if you're a woman, and a guy is talking to you, if he starts talking about other dates he's got lined up, for example, or models that he likes, or girls he's dated, or something like that, or girls that he's going to date, then, you know, if he's talking about other women, he's trying to deliberately make you think, oh, he's got other prospects. I need to grab him before someone else gets him. That is what they are trying to make you think. Look out for it. Don't fall for it. If they make it obvious that they've got other options, other irons in the fire or whatever, they are doing that deliberately to try and manipulate you into choosing them, supposedly as your choice, but really they are trying to influence that decision for you. So watch out for that. A common sort of behaviour they will use is what used to be known as treat them mean, keep them keen. So somebody who is deliberately mean to you, or perhaps just sort of seems to be uncaring or unthinking, is treating you mean to keep you keen. Again, this is a phrase that's, you know, being popularised, and sort of it's even been in films and so on. Do watch out for it. If someone treats you badly, then walk away. To be honest, don't stick around. They're just going to keep doing it. Keeping you in their frame. So this is a phrase where the guy is trying to make sure that you are always thinking about them. So this will be things like, you know, it could seem innocuous. For example, sending you a text message. It might be that you're going out with friends, or perhaps they know that you've got a date with someone else or anything like that, and suddenly they send you a message. Yes, it could be that they're being nice and thoughtful. It could be that they're trying to make you think about them. So, you know, do watch out for that. Trying to make sure that you're always thinking about them is called keeping yourself in their frame, and that is a tactic that they will use. So watch out for that. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is a big subject, and we're not going to go into all of that. It's, by all means, Google it, look up gaslighting, common signs of gaslighting, all that sort of stuff. But those are tactics that they will, and techniques that they will use. So things like denying they said something, or denying that something happened, or saying, oh, you must be emotional, oh, is it your time of the month, all that sort of stuff. Common gaslighting techniques, don't fall for them. Someone who demands or moans that men don't have enough rights, or that men's rights are being eroded, but at the same time is seemingly against women's rights, then that is a common incel sign. Someone who puts you down or puts women in general down, particularly by using negging. That's another common tactic. Negging is making a negative comment, but dressing it up to seem like a compliment. So, for example, "Oh, you look lovely today. That's a brave outfit choice. Well done." So they've, that kind of common approach of praise, negativity, praise is a very common incel tactic. They start off with praise, so you think, "Oh, yay." Then they slip in a bit of negativity, so you probably won't notice it. And then you finish off with some praise. So again, you think, "Oh, yay." So you have a positive impression of the comment or the conversation. But if you think about it, "You look great today." Yes, that's positive. "That's a brave outfit choice." Ooh, that is negging. That is generally negative. It might just be incredibly clumsy, but usually that's suggesting that that's a choice that other people wouldn't have made. That's negativity. You pull it off, "You look lovely," something like that at the end. That again is the positivity, and they're hoping that that's what you remember. But subconsciously, the negative comment is going to sit there and simmer. And again, it's aimed towards getting you to think something like, "Oh, actually, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, I hope he likes me. Oh, I really need to make sure that he doesn't get away." All that sort of stuff. It's, again, emotional manipulation. If they refer to white knights or betas, incels see themselves as alphas, and they see anybody else as a beta. In particular, they see people who support women as betas. They see people who stand up for women and women's rights as white knights, particularly if they're abusing a woman and somebody comes over and goes, "Oi." That person is, in their eyes, a white knight. They are trying to cockblock them. They're trying to stop their fun. They are the enemy. So watch out for terminology such as white knights, betas, and things like that. I would suggest reading up on Red Pill. There are Reddit forums about it. They are horrendous. No two ways about it. The conversations that go in on there are horrific. All about abuse, how to abuse, how to manipulate people. It's just horrendous. But, forewarned is forearmed. Lots of signs to watch out for. If they make decisions for you without consent, then that's another red pill tactic. So when the waiter comes over and says, "What will you have?" And he immediately orders for you without your consent, that's a red pill tactic. You might be all for that. Many subs want their partner, their dom, their owner, their master, whatever, to make decisions for them and order drinks for them, all that sort of stuff. If you're okay with that and you've told them you're okay with that, that's different. But if they just assume, then warning sign. And making you reliant on them. That is another classic red pill tactic. That could be any number of ways, making you reliant on them financially, making you reliant on them for access to a club or something. Again, basically any reason to tie them to you, to tie you to them, they're going to take it. So watch out for that. Okay, so that's red pill. I say do look into it. Do sort of understand what red pill is about and what to look out for. And the same with gaslighting. Watch out for that when you're doing your research. Moving on to safety tips for play and scenes. As with meeting someone for the first time, I would strongly suggest that you meet in public before playing with someone for the first time, again, so that when your bloated and rotting corpse turns up in the Thames, there's a trail to follow. Ideally, play somewhere public first. Now, I don't mean in broad daylight, I don't mean in front of other people necessarily. I mean play somewhere that, again, there will be proof that you were there. So definitely do not, if you're submissive, play in your own home first, because again, that's going to reveal where you live. Don't also accept an offer to play at their address first, because again, not public. I would suggest a public dungeon, somewhere that, okay, even if you just somewhere that you can hire and it's just you, that's fine, but ideally somewhere where there's going to be at the very least the owner or a dungeon monitor or someone like that who's going to know that you're there, and they're going to know who you're with. Another good option is a hotel. Again, there will be a record that you were there. I encourage clients to book the hotel room for the session first, so that way they get to choose a venue they're comfortable with, and it will be their presence there will be registered, and there will be cameras showing me arriving. That doesn't mean you are going to get down and kinky in the lobby, it just means that there is a trail to be followed. Make your own way there and back. Again, as with meeting in public, make your own way there and back. Politely refuse, or in fact rudely refuse any offers to provide you with transport. Make your own way there and back. Take a friend or let someone know where you'll be. If you're going to be playing at a hotel or a dungeon, by all means have someone meet you have someone wait for you in the lobby. Otherwise, let someone know where you'll be, and again, arrange a safe call. Know where the exit is, whether it's the main exit, a fire exit. Make sure you know how you can get out. Negotiate, discuss, and agree the scene beforehand. Again, go over likes, dislikes, limits, boundaries, things you want to do, things you do not want to do, things you might be open to if things are going well. Negotiate, discuss, and agree the scene beforehand. New subs, don't just turn up and go, do whatever you want, I'm yours. No. A responsible Dom won't do that anyway, because if you've never played before, they don't know what you like. They're not going to know how you're going to react. A responsible Dom will take it slowly. They're going to want to learn how you respond to things. They're going to want to learn how you react. So do make sure that you negotiate and discuss what's going to happen up front. Maybe that sounds a little bit boring. It doesn't need to be, okay, I'm going to spank you 5 times, then I'm going to spank you another 5 times, then I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But, we're going to do some impact play. I'm going to spank you with my hand. I'm going to spank you with this paddle. Ideally, have them show you what they're going to use before they do. That kind of thing. You can build that into the scene. But, at least you don't want there to be any surprises. So you don't want there to suddenly be a big 12-inch purple jelly dildo being rammed where the sun doesn't shine if you weren't expecting it. So make sure you know what to expect. If anything happens that you weren't expecting, use your safe word. In fact, I would suggest you use your safe word anyway. So yes, review your limits and boundaries. Make sure that aftercare expectations are understood and are going to be met. Take a charged mobile phone with you. When you get there, check that you have a signal. If not, if it's somewhere where there is no mobile phone signal, make sure you know where the nearest phone is that you can use. If it's a hotel room, then the room will have a phone. I would suggest, this is just me, but I would suggest not allowing yourself to be fully restrained the first time you play with somebody. What I like to do if somebody does want bondage is I like to either leave one wrist unchained or leave it loosely chained so that they can reach over, undo their other cuff, and then properly unchain themselves first. I would suggest that you don't agree to anything that's going to have you fully immobilized so that you can't escape. Again, what I like to do is make sure that somebody has a free hand, or at the very least has a little bit of slack, and I put their mobile phone where they can reach it. Sometimes they say, no, that's not necessary, but I like to do it for my peace of mind because anything can happen. I could suddenly drop dead out of nowhere. I could have a brain aneurysm and, they'd be left tied up, and pretty sure that was a horror film actually. But the reason why people have made films about it is because it probably has happened. In fact, I'm pretty sure it has happened. But yes, so I like to make sure that they can reach their mobile phone. But that's me, but that is a recommendation I would make. Test the safe word response. So even when you don't need to, I would strongly suggest testing your safe word. So perhaps right at the beginning, before anything happens, you go, actually, stop, red, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. By all means, try that, see how they react. If they try to talk you out of it, then I would get out of there. If they go, okay, not a problem, are you okay? Do you want to talk? Do you want to leave? That's a good sign. By all means, go, actually, no, you're okay, I was just testing. That's fine. A responsible person to play with will go, well done, very proud of you. And also, when something is happening, perhaps you're being spanked or whatever, then again, safe word well before you think you need to, and just see how they respond. Do they stop immediately? Do they check in? Do they see if you're okay? Do they immediately start to untie you or whatever? So do test how they respond to safe word. Some people call this a safe word drill. That's a good way to look at it, that you're testing the emergency escape route, but you don't actually need to use it, but you're testing it so that if you do need to use it, it will be there. Again, if you are going to do sexual activity, make sure that condoms are used if that's what you want, or femidoms or whatever. And also do, particularly if you're young and new, do swat up on STDs, because it's not just a case of not using a condom is the only way you can catch an STD. That's not how it works. So do make sure that you are fully aware of sexual health. But yes, make sure that you watch out for stealthing, particularly if you are, if it's someone that you haven't played with before. Stealthing is where somebody starts off using a condom, but then slips it off without you noticing and carries on. That is very, very bad. It's ignoring your consent. It is... I think there is a discussion about whether or not it's rape legally. In my opinion, it is. But I know there have been conversations in different countries about whether or not that is the case. But yes, do watch out for that. Particularly if somebody has resisted the use of condoms, saying, oh, I'm allergic. There are anti-allergy condoms available. If somebody really absolutely can't use condoms, then that's fine. Just, make sure they stay zipped up. And, don't get to put it anywhere near you or walk away. But yeah, if somebody has sort of resisted the use of condoms and then sort of eventually agrees, then they may well try stealthing. Particularly, if you can't see them. So if you're blindfolded or you're in a position where you can't see their penis, then, be very, very careful. Along the same lines, are any toys they use with you clean? I would always suggest, if things are going to be inserted, then have them put a condom on them first. If it's going to be inserted orally, then you can get flavoured condoms. They're quite often rubber flavoured, but strawberry ones are actually quite nice. But yeah, do you, even if it's not a penis, if it is something going inside you, I would strongly suggest using a clean condom. Or at the very least, have them sort of use an antibacterial wipe or something beforehand. But I would suggest the use of condoms on any toys that are going to go inside you. If they're a professional, then they're going to sterilise the stuff beforehand. But if it's just a casual sort of thing, then yeah, don't take any risks. I would advise you keep your first few sessions short, no more than an hour and a half of play. I would say 2 hours, including aftercare and discussion negotiation up front, is probably plenty. If everything goes well, great. There are plenty of opportunities for longer sessions and plays later, but I would start off with keeping things short, and that gives you plenty of sort of time to get a feel for them, and also there's not too much to decompress afterwards. And again, trust your instincts. If something seems off, if something seems not right, if everything went well when you met them, but then when you start to play with them, things suddenly seem wrong, they seem different, whatever, if anything is making your spidey sense tingle, then cut and run. There are plenty more kinksters out there. Okay, that is the end of the presentation. We will now move on to questions and comments. As I scroll back to the beginning, here we go. So we'll have that on the screen. So I asked people to submit questions via Curious Cat, and there have also been a few comments in the chat. So let's see, Squishy Love says, don't ever compromise on safety in public meeting. The disreputable will try to gaslight and manipulate you into foregoing that by saying, I'm disappointed, I thought you were serious, or I'm hurt, you don't trust me, I thought we had a real connection, etc. Don't fall for it. Yes, she fell for such tactics. She says, don't be me. Definitely agree with that. Any sort of trying to get you to trying to manipulate into changing your mind, big red flag. Also, interesting phrase there is, where they say, I'm disappointed, I thought you were serious, or I thought this, or I thought you were a real sub. That is a very commonly used tactic of the abusive, trying to suggest that you are not a real sub. There's no such thing. There is no such thing as a real sub. They will say, oh, if you don't let me do this, then obviously you're not a real sub, or a real sub would do this, a real sub would do that, a real sub would let me do this. No, a real sub would stand their ground. That's facetious. There is no such thing as a real sub. There just isn't. There's only you. There's your type of being a sub. Okay. Is FetLife a good way to meet people? The jury is out. Some people will say yes. Some people will say no. Some people will say use it with caution. I would say FetLife is a hive of scum and villainy, and you must be cautious. There are good people on there. There are many, many bad people on there. There is a way of seeing when somebody new has signed up, and abusive types are very well aware of how to do this, and they will slide straight into your DMs, and they will try to manipulate you and isolate you and so on, all those things we talked about earlier. FetLife is a great way to find out about events and munches and things like that, and I have a guide for that, which I will put in the links to this video. So by all means use FetLife as a tool, but when you're new, be very, very careful about meeting people on there, particularly if they slide straight into your DMs. By all means, join in public conversations on FetLife or Reddit or whatever, but don't talk to somebody that you haven't interacted with publicly. Squishlove also points out that on the subreddit forum I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of creeps and incels on there as well. Yes, there are. Usually they will, if they sort of offer advice or something, they will get called out for bad advice. So do watch, Reddit has this reasonably cool thing where good replies can be upvoted and bad replies can be downvoted. So that does give you sort of idea. Familiarize yourself with who the mods are on that subreddit, and watch out for sort of people they push back against or ban or support. So is FetLife a good way to meet people? If used with care. What is frenzy? Yes, I did mention that overeagerness can be a sign of frenzy. Basically, sub-frenzy is what you'll normally hear about. Dom frenzy is also a thing, or top frenzy or bottom frenzy. Frenzy is basically, the easiest way to explain it is wanting to do all the things right now. Particularly when somebody is new to kink, they have just suddenly realised all the cool stuff that's out there, and all these things, and they think they haven't got a moment to waste. They want to do choking, they want to do flogging, they want to do spanking, they want to do bondage, they want to do this, that and the other, they want to do wax play, they want to do cane, they want to do needles, all that sort of stuff. Please don't do that. Watch out for that. It's not an ideal sign. I would suggest picking 3, maybe 5 things that you want to experience to begin with. Start it slowly, focus on those, get experience there, and then kind of start to expand into other things, particularly if you're new and you don't know what your limits are yet. Focus on just like 3, maybe 5 things, and learn about how you respond, learn about what things you like and don't like, learn about what submission means to you, or dominance or whatever. Take it slowly. There is plenty of time. There are plenty of kinksters out there. If the first person you meet isn't ideal, then move on. Don't think, oh, I've got to do this because otherwise I won't have time, or if I don't do it now I never will, all that sort of stuff. No, that's not how it works. You've got all the time in the world. There are many, many people out there. Do not rush into it. Doms will watch out. Good, responsible Doms or responsible kinky folk will watch out for somebody who has clear signs of frenzy, and they will try to calm you down. So yes, frenzy is basically when we want to do all the things right away. We're in such a rush. We're like a kid in a candy shop. So yeah, frenzy is understandable, but it's not ideal. What else? Let's have a look. Oh yes, somebody said regarding unsafe practices, you don't want to be the subject of one of those ER stories on Reddit. Yes, so do be careful about things which are unsafe. And yes, when talking about how people that only follow subs, for example, or indeed subs that only follow DOMs, check to see how many of those follows are reciprocal. If somebody is following lots of people and none of them follow back, then they're not really sort of engaging with those people, and they're just kind of looking at porn or whatever. On the other hand, look and see if people are engaging in conversations, engaging in debates or whatever. That's a good sign, and it also gives you an idea of what they talk about. This is a good one. I'm going to meet my Dom in real life soon, but we've been committed almost a year. I 100% trust him, and I think he'll be offended if I want to meet in a public place and have a safe call. So, what are safe alternatives just in case I'm wrong about him? Okay. There's a lot to unpack there. If you 100% trust him, but you think he'll be offended, then I would suggest that sounds like you don't completely trust him. And perhaps we need to look at why that is. As I mentioned earlier, a responsible kinkster, sub, dom, top, or whatever, a responsible person will be patient, they will be understanding, they will accept that you have particular requirements, such as meeting in a safe meeting in a public place. They will not be offended. If you think they will be offended, then that suggests that you are not entirely comfortable. But if they are responsible, if they are genuine, I can guarantee you, will not be offended. In fact, I would suggest they should be encouraging you to meet somewhere public. I definitely do. I will be meeting clients soon, and we will be meeting in a public venue. I met somebody just at the weekend, and we met in a public venue. So yeah, I personally, for me, I will always suggest to meet somewhere public, and if they say no, I will encourage them to do so, to meet somewhere public. But yes, if they are safe and responsible, then they're not going to be offended. They're not going to be at all offended, and in fact, they will probably praise you for it. Likewise with having a safe call person. And someone's just said, yes, you should hope they'd be offended if you didn't suggest a public place. Yes. So, I would say that there's nothing to worry about, and basically, particularly if you're going a long way to meet somebody, then you should not be afraid to, pardon me, you should not be afraid to walk away if anything seems off. Always, have that escape plan in mind. In particular, if, as a lot of people are doing, they've maybe had long distance dynamics during COVID, and now that things are opened up, they might want to take things offline and meet in the real world. Maybe you are going to meet in a hotel or something like that. I would suggest, expect to spend a good hour or so first, and then maybe you do feel comfortable, if everything works out, to go to your room. That's fine if you trust the person and everything so far has been absolutely fine. But just hedge your bets. Don't meet them at your room. Don't give them your room number in advance. Don't let off where you're going to be staying. By all means, perhaps meet in a local coffee shop or something, so they don't necessarily know, maybe there's 2 or 3 hotels in the area, but definitely don't give them your room number, don't give them your card or anything until you are happy. Yes, it sucks if you've travelled a long distance to meet someone and all of a sudden all the red flags are going off. Better that you waste the cost of a train fare or whatever than you turn up dead bloated in the Thames. So just again, no amount of kink, no amount of orgasms, no amount of dominance or submission is worth your life. Okay, stay alive, and you've got all the time in the world to explore things. Please do not rush into it. trust your gut, trust your instincts. If something seems off, even if you can't quite put your finger on it and you don't feel comfortable, walk away. You don't need to have a concrete reason. Trust your gut. By all means, reach out to me or somebody else you trust on, or at least someone else you have a good opinion of, and ask us what do we think. But anytime anybody does ask me sort of what do I think about this, I will say, you know what, if you're not happy, then walk away. Usually what happens when somebody says, am I being silly, am I being too cautious, and they show me what it is that's got them worried, it's all the red flags. It really is. But that's what happens when we're keen, when we're eager, when we really want to, start experiencing all this fun and all this good stuff. We kind of want to ignore the warning signs, like with, phishing scams or whatever. We think, well, this seems dodgy, but it's too good to be true. But what if it isn't? No, if you are in any way uncertain, if something feels wrong, then walk away. There is no shame, no harm in it. Walk away. There are plenty more people out there. But if you're dead, there aren't. Okay. Anything else? No, I think that's everything. So yes, watch out for people sliding into the DMs. And yes, don't learn from porn. So, unless there are any more questions, doesn't look like there are, and I think that's it on the Curious Cat. So yes, I think that's it. So tomorrow I will add some notes to the descriptions of these videos. I'll put a link to how to use FetLife. Ransomware scams. Are ransomware scams a large problem with kinky chatting online? As long as you don't go around downloading things, don't go around clicking adverts, as long as you've got some form of antivirus, anti-malware, even if it's just Windows Defender, you don't need to have Symantec or Norton or McAfee installed. Windows Defender is bloody good these days. Yes, ransomware scams. As long as you take sensible online precautions, just as you would with anything, then you should be okay. But you may find that you get emails sort of saying, oh, I've got proof of videos you watched, or I hacked into your webcam and I've got proof of what you did the other day. Oh, I bet you don't want your family and friends to see this. Those are generally scams and not real, particularly if you have used a brand new fake disposable ID, then they've got no way of knowing who you are. If the email has gone to one of your normal email addresses, then it's going to be one of the usual scams anyway, where again they don't know it was you that was on this forum, or it wasn't you that was on FetLife, because they can't link you. But that's another good reason to have a disposable completely firewalled ID, is that's not linked to anything, is so that you can easily identify if somebody is trying to scam you. Basically, it's not necessarily going to be more common, although you will find that sexy sites, because of the fact that the normal online advertising companies won't advertise on sexy sites, the adverts are quite often ones that are going to be dodgy, so don't click on any of the adverts on FetLife or whatever site you're using. Don't download additional software. If a site says you need to install this viewer or something, then go to a different site. If a potential partner says, oh, let's chat on this secure app, download this, then no. Stick to normal means of communication. Stick to Gmail, stick to Twitter, stick to whatever, normal inboxing thing it is. Don't take your chat to anywhere that you are not familiar with. So yeah, as long as you sort of stick to standard internet safety, don't click unfamiliar links, don't open attachments from people, well, don't open attachments you weren't expecting, even people you know and trust. Emails can be spoofed. I regularly get emails from my uncle saying, "Oh, Andy, here's the document that I wanted to send you." Then that is a clear sign that something's dodgy, because I never expect him to send me something. So it follows standard sort of safety, and also the post office hasn't got a package for you that they need you to fill in a form for online. By the way, that's not how it works. But as long as you follow standard safety, then by all means you should be safe. But yes, do be skeptical, do watch out for that sort of thing. But yeah, nobody's been following you, or nobody's going to prove anything. And particularly if it is a throwaway account, then they're not going to know who your family and friends are. But that's another good reason to not post identifying information. Okay. Like I said, if there are no other questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm aware there is a delay, so I'm going to keep talking for a little bit. I will tomorrow post some links to the descriptions of these videos. I will make this presentation downloadable, so you've got something to quickly refer to. I will try and put timestamps in it. I've never done that before. That's going to be new. I will put a link to my guide for using FetLife. I've also got a podcast episode on safety, which is going to cover a lot of this stuff as well, and a few other bits and pieces. So do check back. I will put descriptions in the video. And if that is everything, it seems like it is, then thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.